This is going to be a quick macro and fundamental analysis session where we are going to look at the entire crypto market and ask that question to ourselves. Are we about to see next bull season? Can next 2-3 months bring us great gains here in the crypto market? Now, is it only the crypto market which is going to go higher? I personally don't think so. Now, let me justify. It's actually the macro indicators which actually suggest this. Say the last crash we got was after getting the inflation rates in the US. Because when we were thinking like the inflation is slowing down or it peaked back in March, we got another one which is 8.6, which is higher than that. Now, do I think inflation has peaked? No. I will clarify all this as we go along this, because right now things are looking a little bit low, but you are going to actually see this stuff playing out where you are going to get these numbers coming out on these dates. Now, why are these dates so important? Because it actually gives you room to run. This is June the 20th. So, July, August, September. That's what you are going to look at to say like, okay, most likely, I think September, Fed has to go super aggressive. Now, I would say like why I think that. I will give you all the details so that you can make your own decision. But at the same time, look at the market. It's bouncing back up. So if you weigh that bear, saying the market is going to drop, we are going to bounce through, at least we were talking the opposite, right? We were saying like this, okay, there's a lot of issues happening. If this holds, that's fine. Ether need to hold this one. What happened? The price again drops. But we were saying the same thing. Price need to hold. And right now you're looking at the price and like, okay, the price is bouncing back on the 200-day moving average. Now, we are not a bull for Ether, but we are for the entire altcoin market and especially for XRP. So the XRP dominance, right now you're looking at this, right? You have factors highlighting, okay, there is a huge possibility that you are gonna have a run to the upside because history kind of rhymes itself. Now, is it just XRP doing the same? No, you do have other assets showing you like, okay, there is a huge possibility that you are about to go boom, right? That's coming. And we are going to detail through that and give you the proper reasoning of why there is a possibility that this may happen in next 3 months. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. When you look for the next 3 months and say, okay, there is a huge possibility that the market can run higher, you do have the macro stating, okay, there is a possibility that the markets entirely is going to move to the upside. But when you are looking at that possibility, you are looking for like, okay, why should this asset do well? You have that here, and you are looking like how high this can actually go. You have all the details here. So if you are that guy who need to learn more and understand this market, you can take that time, because right now you're at a point where you see these numbers: Jan, Feb, March, April, May. Your inflation rates are coming in, and Fed just went aggressive, hiking that 75 basis point interest rate hike because they got this 8.6%. They were thinking like the inflation peaked by March, 8.5, because it reduced to 8.3 in April. Now that it is going back higher, they have to go aggressive. Now, here is the take on that. When you look at this, the May inflation numbers came in June. So June 10th, the inflation rates came out and, the market knew that, okay, Fed has to go aggressive. The market took a hit. Fine. Now, the next is June. Fine. The data for June will come next month, 13th. So that's July 13. Now, whether the inflation is higher or lower, we don't know. But most likely, one thing is for sure. Next month, the inflation is going to go higher. And I personally think the peak of inflation would most likely be in July. But the data of the July inflation rate will only come out by August 10. Even if the data comes out August 10, the Fed meeting after that is only in September. So the first one you're looking at is like 37 days from now, which is 27th July, right? So for that meeting, 27th July, what Fed would be handling is the inflation rates of June. So if that inflation rate happens to be a little bit lower, say 8.5 or even close to 8.6, they would most likely say, okay, the market is actually peaking, the inflation rate is peaking, we're going to go with a 50 basis point, we're going to go with 25, who knows, possibility they may still do a 75 basis points. But if the inflation rate happens to be closer to this one or lower, that signals the market like, okay, there is a possibility we are going to go higher because inflation is peaking out. But now, why do I think like, July inflation is going to peak? Because if you look at the historic levels of your inflation rate and consider all of those and factor in what's coming ahead, July the 4th, if you look at the historical trend here, you're like, okay, there is a lot of buying going on. You look from the 2014 all the way up to 2020, like we know that 2020, right? We got the corona, all those issues, and we were still doing this numbers. 6.5 billion of purchases. 2017 was like 7 billion in purchase. So if you take this into account, we can say that a lot of Americans would be looking at filling their fuel tank, buying a lot of snacks, cookouts, and all the other stuff to take a relaxing moment for that day. That does mean that you are going to end up with an increasing amount of inflation because people will buy more stuff. So that actually really shows you like, okay, this consumer celebration is actually going to push your spending. So that definitely gives you one idea. Okay, fine, inflation is not peaked yet. That means even if inflation rate is slow for June, it will not be slow for July. It will be much higher in my thought process. Now, what does that actually mean? Now you come back to this dates and like, okay, fine, I actually get this. July, if the inflation is going to be higher, and I'm going to get that data on August 10th, the next Fed meeting is going to be in September. So from here to get to that level where the inflation is high and the Fed is to kick the market to the downside, it's still September 21st. Now, we can also argue that if the rates are going to be in September, but the inflation is going to come out on August 10th, market can take a hit because that's what happened in June 10, right? So from here, you are literally looking for like July and then August 10. So you kind of get like 50 days where, you may still have a possibility for the market to run to the upside. Now, you're like, okay, fine. Can the market really do these big numbers in 50 days? You're kind of going through and looking like, okay, there is XRP dominance. Last time when it increased, it went crazy like this. Now, there are different assets which take longer than that. And that's one of the reasons why I would say like, okay, they may actually have hard time going to super high numbers. Because one, you have the resistance. Two, this pattern itself is bearish and that's happening on a macro. You may go higher, you may test these resistance, but you're not going to get those monstrous numbers, right? And if you break to the downside, that's done for this particular asset. Now, keeping that in mind, you actually go into the XRP chart. You can go into XRP USD, XRP BTC. It's completely up to you, right? You're looking at this and you're like, XRP really don't need too long time to go to the upside, right? If you check the historical data, the first huge rally of 10x happened just in 14-20 days. That's not big number of requirement. And then if you look at the entire wave 2, you did that in just 60 days, 2 months, and you're done. That's not small, right? You get huge run up in that time period, and then you are looking at this one, another 21 days, you are doing another monster rally. So if you take those numbers into account with that number of days, you're like, okay, if XRP can do 20x in 20 days, That is crazy. Then if we count on this one, now we are taking even the small number days where the fluctuation was low, but it was still going to the upside. That's why we are 63 days. But if we get big numbers, we only count those big numbers, it's like 50 days. You don't even need that. You take this here and you're like, okay, it is reducing, right? So you kind of get this idea here, like, okay, the narrative is shifting. You need 2 months, but the market has 2 months. And previously, XRP has done like 80x in that time frame. Now, RSI is super sold. It's actually extended into the downside. So you have room to go to the upside. So now you're looking like, okay, we do have markets rhyming itself. Fine, we do understand that, and we do agree that there was a similar pattern before, a double top pattern, and then you went down, you checked that particular support and got this pattern, a falling wedge. Usually that end up going to the upside, and it happened here, right? Boom, you went to the upside. Now we are looking at a similar pattern at a time when your indicators are showing something similar. And there's a similar asset, right? Payments asset. Now one is retail oriented, another one is wholesale oriented. But both of them solve the payment use case, and both of them are getting adoption, connecting them to stable coins. Regulators are working with them, especially XRP Ledger has a ton of adoption. Now, yes, I do see people like this who don't even have an idea about, now, is he making this up? It's a possibility he's just acting to get more viewers. Why? If you are saying like you don't understand XRP, but you did understand this, oh, that's crazy. That's awful. If you actually ask me, like, cryptomanran, I would say he is really that. Why? If you go look at this, like, we are average, right? I'm an average guy. And if I was calling out and saying like, okay, guys, this is really important, this is bad, right? Taking profit at these all-time highs will not be a bad option because the pattern itself is bearish. And we put this on out March 30th. So you had April and then time in May to take your profits at the all-time highs. This is Luna, Terra Luna. So if you are lunatics like this guy and you don't understand XRP, no doubt, you shouldn't even be complaining, right? Because he didn't understand Luna. How can he even understand XRP? There is no chance for that. But what these guys don't actually see here is this one. Now, this is one of the fundamental stuff which people don't get. Power hungry. Who is that? You look at the proof of work, example Bitcoin. This is from the IMF. You can't make this stuff up. When people say, there's a lot of Bitcoin maximalists who don't actually try to look at the macro stuff. Now I'm like, okay, these guys are educated guys. These guys, they are having the cognitive ability, but I don't know why they miss this. Is this just like, okay, they have a ton of XRP, but they don't want you to hold that? I don't know. But look at this. This is IMF putting this one out. Crypto assets with proof of work, without proof of work, with permissions. Fine. Now, digest this properly because I'm going to take you through this one and say why I think it is talking literally about XRP. Now, you can read through this. I'll put the link in the description below so you don't miss this. Once you come to the bottom, you read this. As payment systems increasingly use distributed ledgers, there is a clear case for those more energy efficient options that are permissioned and do not rely on proof of work mechanism. Ooh. When the Ether guy comes out and say, we are the most scalable stuff central banks are working on, just think about this. They are talking about central banks, digital currencies, even comparing it with physical cards. Don't forget this stuff here. And then they are talking about this. Physical cards take more energy. So if you want to do this stuff appropriately, considering the energy consumption standpoint, which you are getting in the IMF website, just don't forget this one. Shout out to PMA for putting this one out. You have to look at this one. You can't make this stuff up, right? Visa, MasterCard, Dash, Litecoin, Bitcoin, blah, 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 all of them. Then XRP. If they are talking about green, sustainable, low energy consumption product, which is working, which is scalable, and you don't get, lunatics like this, you literally are looking at this particular technology. Now, read through this entire stuff and you are going to talk about this. They are not just talking about a crypto asset, they are talking about CBDCs and how this can play. So a CBDC coming out, combining it with a private sector player, which is a interoperability layer, that can really change the game. And as you read through this, you're getting that idea, right? Okay, this is how things work. And right now, you're focusing even more on the energy efficiency part. So if I read this properly, there is no doubt that this asset is actually going sky high. Now, why do I think this is another 3 months we may have that huge run up? Because last time we actually hit the market like this, a lot of people getting kicked out of the market. It's bad for all those guys who are kicked out because they went in leveraged. But you look at the history, you're kind of like, when a lot of people are getting crushed after a long corrective session, you happen to go to the upside. You look at this one, you were going down, 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 then this peaked here, then you were going up, then again you got a corrective session going capitulation here, and then with that capitulation comes a lot of liquidations who were thinking, I'm gonna be a multi-billionaire with the leverage. Now, if you know how to use that properly, you may become one, but that's not for most of us, right? Then you look at this one, you are going to the downside, you get that liquidity being taken out of the market, liquidated, then the market goes back up. Now you are getting even higher liquidations, which actually means most of the weak holders, or those who are over leveraged, those who have the trailing stop loss, they have been taken out from the market. So you now really don't have much of people to kick out. Now, there can be micro strategy unless they actually, put more collateral in and reduce their liquidation point to 12,000, 10,000, who knows, right? If that's happening, they're pushing their liquidation point, and market really have to fetch far more to find those points. But I really don't think market is going that direction, because I kind of go with this from CZ, right? Crypto area highlighting absolutely. Now I completely agree. In midst of all these bad stuff, you have a ton of opportunity. So if you are looking at the market and saying, okay, that's so bad, just look at it the other way and say that's a huge opportunity. Because you may get these numbers coming out and people, getting crushed. But if you are kind of prepared, at least you can survive. Now, if you are well prepared, you are going to have that purchasing power to buy these stuff low. Why? Because this is at a historical support for this particular asset class. Now, you don't have hundreds of years of history, but you do have 9 years. Now, that's not that small. But when you come to look at this 200-day moving average, which happened to be close with this long-term trend line, price is bouncing off that, that's not a bad signal either. Because in history, you have done that before. Yes, the moving average was below this, fine, but you happen to run much higher than the initial run up to the all-time highs. So if that's you in the market, inside this market, you're like, okay, fine, I'm looking for XRP to run higher. There are some assets which are already breaking through this against BTC, against Ether, and even showing that same move in dollar terms. Now, we went into that yesterday, right? We just had to bite the bullet in one asset because it was looking so bad, and fine, we took the hit. And we used that purchasing power for this particular asset, which is turning bullish, right? Now, that's one of the reasons why we actually go through and do all these Ask for TA session where we post important updates for you so you don't make bad choices. You look at all these and learn from that and then take an informed decision. Say this one is for weekly on Stellar, on BTC, fine? XLM BTC, just this 1 week has erased last 19 weeks of correction, consolidation. All of them erased in just 1 week. For me, that's bullish. because you're also breaking through this trend line. Now, are you going to close this below this? I don't know, but even if it is closing just below the resistance, yes, it is below the resistance, but it doesn't change the fact that it kind of erased 18, 19 weeks of price history. That is actually bullish, because when you step back and look at it, you're like, okay, I kind of understand this. You had a resistance point, the price went above that and then slowly came back below, making this particular corrective channel, and then boom, you go up. So your wave one is kind of negligible here, or you can say this is the wave one, but that happens to be in a previous cycle if you are considering time, right? Now the same is happening. 2021 you got this, 2022 till now there is nothing. Last 1 year you didn't get much. Now you are about to break through this. So if you can do that, that means you are running for big numbers. So you come to XRP BTC, you're looking at the same. Okay, fine, just this one candle is kind of erasing these last 5 weeks of bearishness. Now if we get to close this and continue next one more candle, we are closing like months of corrective sessions. That is actually ultra bullish, because when you zoom out, it's been 1631 days you are being inside this stuff, corrective consolidative pattern. What does that actually mean? It just means that if you're, just take this as an example, if you are entering at the top of the cycle or a week after that, you have a long way to go. But when you're entering after 1000 days, 1500 days, the number of days to the start of next run, massive run to the upside, is reducing. And at this point, it feels like, okay, you are close to this low, you bounced off. Now, when we were at this close at the bottom, you go back in that time and look at our chart, what we were saying. We were literally saying that the historical low and we may go higher. And it did go higher. Now, it didn't go to $20, it went to $2 in USD terms. And right now, I think the price can go back test the 200-day moving average or even go above that. And that's just the starting point of all this. Because on the USD terms, yes, you are showing that there is a little bit of power coming in because the sellers are slowly getting exhausted, but you do have to consider this too. That's the only negative point. You need to come back above this, because the last 2 weeks, if you connect that with the latest week here, you're like, okay, we are breaking through that. Yes, we do have this historical level of support from where we need to bounce, but if we don't, we may consolidate here. That's a bad story. That's the only bad story which I see technically for XRP. But if you are coming back in the next couple of candles here, that's erased. Now we are looking for a major run up from a major support zone when the price is about to reach the bottom, meaning the sellers are so exhausted they can't push the price to the downside from here. And you see market getting movement, right? That's actually a good stuff to see. Like Bitcoin is about 20,000. Because that's kind of a psychological level which Bitcoiners need to maintain. So guys, if you do understand this market, it shows you literally a lot of opportunities. And you need to look at this on the macro perspective, where you are not just listening to some random guy saying, okay, boom, this is done. Crypto is in a crypto winter. It's a bear market. I don't buy that stuff. I personally look at the charts. And if I'm looking at the charts and I'm seeing this, I don't see we are in a bear market. I'm like, we are just entering into a bull market. We're not even getting started now. So I literally can't digest those narrative. We peaked out. We are going down. I call the top. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't actually digest that properly. Because right now, say for example, yesterday we moved into one of this coin. Now you look at this top, we went into one of this, taking the hit. And right now I'm like, okay, that was a good choice. We happen to get somewhere close to the bottom. I'm fine. Now, if you want that kind of updates, when I'm closing one position, I'm opening another position, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below, where we also post these kind of stuff. You get Luna there. You get Solana called out there. You get Celsius called out there. It was a really early call, but we didn't go higher from there. We slowly come down, and then boom, we dropped. So these kind of calls are always there for you to be educated, so you make wise decision for your portfolio. If you want that kind of stuff, again, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. Before the next 3 months is over, and if there is a run up, as I think, you need to be in the market and you need to be in the right assets. If not, chance chances are that you may not get another opportunity for some more time, because the Fed is going to hike the rates, because the market is going to take a hit. Residential market, stock market, you name it, most of them will be collapsing, and we may join that party to the downside in crypto sector for 8, 9, 10 months. We don't know. So if next 3 months is going to be bullish, you need to be on the right assets. You need to be taking profits as we go higher. So guys, that's it for now. If you received value, please do hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done that already. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.